Listen, look at the city, man. They all showed up. They all showed up.
Vandersloot gives it up. Parker to tie. You bet. Here's the 0-1. This is going to be a tough play. The Cubs. Finds Rose. Rose trying to get open. Fires away. Bang! It's over. The Bulls win at the buzzer. DeRozan to win it! Goal! DeMar DeRozan delivers! Anderson hits it in the air to right. Back at the wall, and the White Sox win it! Fake one way, Fields stumbling, trying to cut it back. Justin Fields making magic happen. There goes Fields. Touchdown! Who will receive it first after it is hoisted by the captain? Will it be the 40-year-old defenseman who has longed for this moment? Yes, sir. Walking right, Chicago!
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you are listening to a special edition of Mike on the Mic. Today is not Skytown because we have a lot of things to talk about because I am sitting with the queen of WNBA media, the one and only Megan Price of the Dallas Wings. How are we doing today, Megan?
Oh, man, I got some rest last night. I'm doing better. It was a long, very fun week, but glad to get some rest. Glad to sleep in my own bed finally.
Definitely. Talking about, I texted her last night. She said, I'm coming back from Indianapolis. I said, but you didn't come to see me. That's crazy. That's blasphemy. That's honestly one of the most.
Look, I mean, I was busy every single day, like 7 o'clock in the morning until about 10 o'clock at night, just working. So
that's crazy.
I didn't do any kicking it until Friday night once the event was over. Got to cover the National Scouting Combine, which they did the free agents and then they had the draft eligibles too. So it was like the guys that you see probably go in the last half of the draft, like these were them that were shown up to that.
And that's like
so I mean, it was cool. It was so cool. Like they also had like a referee clinic going on. And obviously we see from last night's NBA game that sometimes they need to be taught a few things, but they were the refs from the Big Ten. And so they were, as we were doing like 7-on-7 play, and then like we actually had 12 quarters. That's my dog in the background, y'all. That's Boo. Sorry. Like they were reffing the games as well. So, we had the Kansas City Chiefs were there, the Colts were there. Who else was there? I can't even remember, to be honest.
Was Patrick Beverly there, Megan? Was Patrick Beverly there?
No, Pat. You know what? Pat was working the camera last night.
I saw that. I got a little into that. I said, "Damn!" I don't know if you saw what I tweeted, but I was like, that's every Chicago rec hooper that you've ever seen, like at an export or a YMCA. Like that was the first time I think as a Chicagoan I was ever proud of something Patrick Beverly did. Every other time I'm
right, yeah.
You're making us look bad, bro. But this time I was like, you know what?
No, he definitely had grounds for what he did. But he had to have known he was going to get a tech for it.
No, 100%.
But
that's the beauty of Pat. It doesn't matter if he's out the game or not. Like it really doesn't.
Right. And that's the thing. Like last week when he was running his lips about Dame time being over, and it was like, bro, you scored 4 points. They could have took you out the game, and the Lakers still would have won that ball game. Like 100%. You wasn't a part of the win, bro.
But my guy, you know what? He was though. In spirit, he was. So I think
he got to chill out. Dame had like 40 points that game.
He really did. Dame had a 60-point game as well in the same week. I mean, he's just been balling insane.
Yeah, Dame time is not over. That was awesome.
Oh no, definitely not. And I'm really excited for the playoffs of that. But something I'm not really excited about. Megan, you were my person. You were my therapist yesterday. I had a moment. I knew it was coming. But in the fashion that it happened was just like I feel like the whole WNBA was affected by this. Obviously, You know, you and I had these conversations, and me, you know, actually being able to text this woman and ask her, hey, like, what's going on? And, you know, I kind of got a little questionable response. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but I was like, I don't believe that. You know, it came down to, for Candace Parker, am I going to the Los Angeles Sparks, or am I going to remain in Chicago with my team? And then out of nowhere, out of fucking left field, hey, you know, the Las Vegas Aces want to meet with you. And I told you straight up, I was like, there's no way that financially works. And I still don't know what the financials of that contract is going to look like. I don't think anybody's really going to know until it happens. But I would say it's a pretty pay cut. If somebody's taking a pay cut for sure. Candace Parker signing with the Las Vegas Aces. Megan, what's your first reaction on that?
Well, actually, okay, so she didn't make a ton of money last season. So I think she would probably make this move not for the money. So we talk about a major pay cut. I don't think she's going to be the one to take a major pay cut. Like, I want to say she made like 50,000 for you guys last season, to be honest. But once again, that was a part of being the bigger picture, the whole. I really thought she was going to go back to LA. That's what I kept hearing. You know, with Kurt Miller going over there and him being able to get De'Erica, which I don't know if she'll be ready to play this season. I don't know how far along she is. Obviously, she was pregnant during the finals. And but I think I saw her say that, like, hey, you know, I was going to be ready. I was going to be game ready once the season showed up. So she wasn't really sure why the Aces moved on from her. And then now it's like, well, it's questionable on whether you're even going to be able to play this season. Like, not everybody is Cheryl Swoops, you know, like Cheryl Swoops got on the court 6 weeks after having her baby. Right. Like, that's not the norm, you know, like not everybody. Different. But also, Cheryl, that was her first year playing. Like, that was her first season. Like, De'Erica's 8 years in now, you know, like she had been with the Aces for a minute. And I know, you know, we're going to see how that situation unfolds because, you know, the Players Association and the NECA have already said that they are going to investigate how that happened because you're not allowed to be lied to because you're pregnant. You know what I mean? Right. And they basically accused her of signing her extension knowingly that she was pregnant and she didn't disclose it, which I don't know that she necessarily has to. I don't know all the laws on that, but I don't think she has to be honest. So we'll see how that unfolds. I've seen a lot of comments about they calling her CPKD, like, you know, when KD joined the Warriors. Different. It's a little different because Candace has 2 rings under her belt and KD didn't at the time.
And I also feel like you know, not only the rings, but Candace is on her way out where KD was still in his prime. I feel like KD even right now is still in his prime. And I'm not saying Candace isn't. She's still killing triple doubles, but it's definitely.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, every time she got on the court last season, it was another double-double. And there were some games she didn't play in. But, like, how do you not say the Ace is going 40-0 right now? You know?
Yeah. And that's what I tweeted last night as well. And I'm sure – you know, I'm not going to speak for you, but I think this has the potential, if they're all healthy, to be the greatest single season they've ever had in WNBA history. I don't think there's any question of it. I mean, I think there would be a conversation of it, and I'm going out there and I could just say it just because I don't like the guy. Kurt Miller, if Kurt Miller was the coach of this team, I'd be like, all right, well, they're going to fuck up a couple of times. But with Beck, I mean, I'll tell you what, I've sat around some of the,
and she's part of that decision for Candace, I'm sure, because when they played together, and then just being in the industry that they're in, they both worked in the NBA together, like, and just Becky is that type of person that no matter who you are, if she's around you, she's going to elevate you. You know,
she's terrifying too. She's definitely terrifying.
She's terrifying. I think she's so easy to talk to. Like, I think she's so easy.
But like, I told you this when I met her, when I interviewed her. We interviewed her the first go around when they first played in Chicago against the Aces, and I snuck into the Aces media room. I was like,
I know that's right.
I did not want to talk to Wade. I was not trying to talk to Wade. I was not. Every time after a bad loss like that, not talking to him. I'm out. So
I get it. No, I get Becky.
It. And I've sat next to some of the strongest, toughest dudes, some of the most inspirational people in the world. And when Becky walked in, the way she just carries herself, I was like, nah, like, nobody make a joke. Don't nobody say shit funny. Nothing's funny. Like, straight to the point, ask your questions.
I guess the dynamic was different is because at the time Vicky was our coach, and they're friends. Like they played together in New York and San Antonio. Like they're very close still, and so like the dynamic was a little different because one, they were sitting next to each other, and because the Wings managed to beat the Aces last season, and so
no, go ahead, say that one more time for me, Megan.
The Wings managed to beat the Aces one time last season, just one time.
Just one time. I mean, it must be nice to win one time, but
yeah, it was one time. And Vicky made a joke. She was like, "Yeah, she let us win," and Becky chimed in. She was like, "That ain't true."
No, 100%. But I think the biggest piece for me, and I want to touch on the Hamby situation a little bit more later because Kelsey Plum's been very vocal about that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But with the Candace situation, Chelsea Gray to me is the deciding factor into that. And I can't wait.
And I had forgot about that.
Yeah, I can't wait to really just dive into once we really start getting into photo shoots and preseason stuff. I want to hear how Chelsea Gray recruited her. Obviously, they won a chip together in Los Angeles in 2016. It had to be a huge part. Like the second Hamby shipped off, I know Gray was literally right in there, had a notepad and just said CP3, and that's all she needed because that for me is like one of the biggest key factors, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit later. Of you're looking at Courtney Vandersloot right now, and the situation where she's waiting on what happens with Stewie, and for you to have that already to maybe not end with the team that drafted you, but end with one of your original teammates in Chelsea Gray. I think that really just kind of shows, especially. I mean, let's not forget Asia Wilson. I don't know how I'm, 11, 12 minutes into this episode, I haven't mentioned Asia Wilson yet.
Right, yeah. That's huge too.
The key difference, and me and you talked about it all season, was like, I felt like sometimes, and this is just me speaking freely, was Candace felt like, on nights Allie wasn't hitting her shots, or nights Sloot was injured, or nights Emma was still trying to figure out her role. And obviously Ka was still such a key factor, but Candace really, with the triple doubles, the double doubles, putting the team on her back. I mean, you're looking at Candace Parker right now. She could sit out 10 plus games and they wouldn't miss a beat. And that's really what it is. So, at that stage of her career, to really just be able, kind of like the Kevin Durant comparison, like, hey, I could kick it, I could do this, but when playoffs come, I could give you every single second and every single minute that you ask. So I think that's going to be the biggest key factor for them.
Oh yeah, because I mean, we talking about it's year 15. You know what I mean? Like, in which I didn't like how she went about it, but. Tina Charles, whenever she left the Mercury, like she had to play a different role for that team than what she went into it expecting. Because I think she came in 2010. Right. So while she's not the same age as Candace, she's close in age. They've been playing close to the same amount of time. It's like a 2-year difference.
Right.
She thought she was going to go over there and she wasn't going to have to bear the workload. But with BG gone, she was the size on that team. And she was like, yeah, I can put up 26 and 8 for you. Or, I can put you up 20 and 12, on a nightly basis. But do I want to do that at this stage in my career? Like, do I want to have to carry the team and play 40 minutes in a game? Like, and that's what she was having to do. And now for Candace, I just hope that because, Candace is someone I respect a lot, but she's also, she has a bit of an ego. And I mean, we all do. So it's not really a knock. It's not a knock to her, but I think she understands what she needs to do, her role there in Vegas. Excuse me. But will her ego allow her to be that? Because it's Asia's team. And I don't think you can get away from that whatsoever. Like that's your future for years to come is Asia.
Right. But I do want to ask you this because, I thought that same exact thing. And the part to me that kind of made me feel better about it was her acceptance of Ka. Like the way I saw her, like not only help groom Ka into who she is today, but win the finals MVP and kind of just like embody that and be like, no, yeah, Ka is the engine. That's what they called her all year. She is the engine. She's exactly what this team needs. And she kind of started to embrace that role. But as the face, I felt like Candace still understood, Ka is the future, but I am still the face of the team. And I think that's where I agree with you is like, right now you're kind of going into something, and let's be real, like I have no problem shying away from it. Like, before Candace came, I wouldn't say Ka was the face or the future or that understanding of that. Like we traded Elena for her, and we really didn't know what that was going to become. And we just hoped and prayed that obviously Wade could develop that. But when Candace came, it was immediately, yo, this is Candace Parker's team. Like, this is what we're doing. And in this situation, I mean, first and foremost, I'm still one of those people. I don't mean to disrespect Asia. I love Asia, but when I think of the Las Vegas Aces, I think of Kelsey just because the #1 overall pick. She's been there as long as she has. And then, obviously best player on the team is Asia Wilson, becoming that franchise player. She's definitely not where Kelsey is. She's light years ahead of Kelsey right now. But, it's something for me where, okay, well, you have the vet who's been here.
I don't know about light years because, they were both like neck and neck on the scoring title this year, Kelsey and Asia. They were really close.
Mean like all around, I feel like you look at Asia, she's a defensive player of the year candidate. You look at what she can do on the floor. And I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. I think she could kind of play all 5 positions if she really wanted to. That's she needs to. Yeah, that's definitely something that she's not afraid of. Where when I look at Kelsey, great playmaker, but I feel like sometimes a little sloppy getting back on defense. But I think she's going to get a little bit better at it. Have added Candace and just taking a lot of weight off her and having Gray, which I mean this in the utmost respect. When I look at Gray, imagine if Patrick Beverly was talented, and that is Chelsea. Like, she has all the attitude in the world. She can talk the talk. She's a dog, 100%. But she's a hooper at the same time. Like, she could ball. Like, she's not out here calling Dame time with only 4 points. Like, she's got a good 15. So, I think
for sure.
Right now, though, Megan, be real with me. As of this moment, like let's assume obviously BG and DT still have a lot of different things to figure out. Where's BG?
Right, there's questions there too. Yeah.
I don't know how BG feels about anything. I haven't really heard from her about anything, where she's at physically, mentally, any of it.
We won't know until contracts are signed. That's one situation where they're going to be extremely tight-lipped. Like, her travel is going to be completely different than the entire team's. And that sucks, you know what I mean? Because when you travel with your team, there's that camaraderie,
Mm-hmm.
But as we know, the WNBA travel is already trash anyway. So a lot of the times the players aren't even traveling together.
Right.
So, but I can't see BG not being there. I can't see it.
Right.
Now, she might shock us. I don't know, but I just can't see her leaving. But they're both, her and DT are both free agents.
Right.
And I can't see either one of them going anywhere. I mean, like, DT, she ain't the only she an owner player right now. Like, she might as well be. You know what I mean? Like, that's her squad.
Definitely.
But they're gonna have to make some moves because Sophie Cunningham is a free agent as well. Right. I don't know if I trust Sophie, to be honest.
I think it's interesting. Like, it's one of those, like, I want to see you continue to develop and see what you could become. But the one I really want to hit on you with, because right now I was talking to my guy, and I was talking to my guy Stefan late last night. We were just picking each other's brains. And the name we both kept shooting out there is Skyland's Diggins-Smith. And I think that's one of the biggest ones right now.
Yeah.
In understanding, and it's a different conversation now, because as a hooper, you understand, you got to do what's best for you to win a championship. BG's back. DT's going to be healthy. So there's that conversation of, where Skylar was at the time last season and how she was hooping. She was an MVP candidate, 110% for a good part of the season.
Skylar is not a free agent, though.
She's not, but remember the conversations towards the end of the season were really bad. So I wanted to ask you, looking at it, do you see her on the trade block? Because I remember she was getting really frustrated with not only the coaching, but it was vocal, it was public, and they were both going at each other kind of neck and neck the entire season. So do you see with BG coming back, them potentially, because at the time, let's be real, Megan, if BG's gone, you ain't trading Skylar. You need some type of scoring other than DT.
Oh,
so
sure.
Now that BG's back, and obviously another season of Diamond to Shields and really trying to figure that out, do you see them potentially trading Skylar for, we were talking about it last night. The Sky got the #5 overall pick. Could you potentially flip that?
I mean, there's a chance because, Chicago's so close to South Bend. That might play a factor in feeling like going home for Skylar. I think Vanessa Nygaard is a huge problem. And I was just looking at my phone just now, and I need to correct that. Sophie is a restricted free agent, and so is Shea Petty. who announced earlier this week that she's ready. She's going to be playing for the season. I don't know how that's possible. I guess it wasn't a full-blown rupture of her ACL. I guess it might have been like a minor tear.
Mhm.
But she says she's going to be ready to play, which is a shocker to me, because not having Skylar and not having Shea is, I mean, even if you got DT and BG, what are you going to do? You don't have a guard, I don't think Skylar plays this season whatsoever. Last time she had a kid, she took the next season off. And then even though they have BG back, they have a shit relationship with your coach. You feel like you're going to rush back after postpartum for a coach that you hate, like I don't know what fell apart when her and DT were yelling at each other, and then we didn't see Skylar the next game. But at the end of the season, midway through at the All-Star, Vanessa said it's not an All-Star game without DT there, which I can understand the sentiment, but you got a player that made the All-Star game. What the fuck is you talking about? Like you could have.
Hey, what the fuck did you just say, bro?
And that's what Skylar, that's basically what she
Megan,
tweeted.
bro.
She was like, she called her a clown, and I mean, like, I don't know what Skylar, she was in the top 5 on the scoring too. So
she was an absolute beast.
What do you mean it's not an All-Star game? Like, you could have.
Nah, Megan, you got to run that back for me one more time. She said, what the fuck are you talking about? I said, I'm flipping it. I'm flipping it right now at the end of this episode.
Right.
Said, what the fuck?
Well, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I'm averaging like 23 points a game right now.
Right.
What do you mean? Like,
and she's crazy though. Like, do you look at that and you see that? Because I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of different people on the way they have to go about it, especially in the W. Like, everybody's not Liz Cambage. Not everybody's just, I could say that I don't give a fuck about Liz Cambage. Like, not everybody's an asshole, an arrogant asshole like Liz Cambage. So, some people understand though, like, I gotta make some waves if I want to go where I want to go. So right now I kind of saw that from Skylar and I was like, it made me feel like I'm not coming at DT. I'm not coming at the team, but I'm definitely coming at the organization and I'm going to do whatever I got to do publicly to be able to do that. So that was to me kind of like, I could definitely see her being in trade talks. But
to answer that, I think that she's possibly on the trade block.
Yeah, I definitely. And I think BG being back, which you and I preach to the choir all season long. We used to do the 2-minute intro with the free BG. I'm really happy I don't have to do that anymore. Not because it was a problem, just because, it was starting to it was a long time in coming and we kind of didn't have an understanding of what that was going to look like. But now that you have that understanding and as a coaching standpoint, I'm like, I don't fucking like, it's respectfully, like, I need you, but I don't need you. Like, I have BG here now, and it's not going to be a problem. Like, we've been to the finals before without you being a big X factor of this team.
That's true. So,
and then bringing in, I say this so many times. I'll say it with my chest. Like, Diamond DeShields, if she can just stay healthy, is going to be very special to this team.
And I said that too. I was like, why are you not starting Diamond? You know what I mean? Because those last few games, Skylar wasn't there, and she wasn't playing through her pregnancy, and which whatever she felt like she needed to do to be safe, I have nothing against that. And I even said it like on one of our shows where we were like, everybody was like, oh, she quit on her team, and I was like, what if she didn't? What if it's something that we don't know is going on? And sure enough, she was pregnant. You know what I mean? Like,
I also think though, Megan, like, and this is a guy talking. This is a male figure talking. So I mean, it doesn't mean anything. I hold zero value when it comes to a woman's body. But, to me, it's like, fuck the team. Like, if I'm pregnant and you got to, it's fuck the team. I don't give a fuck, especially, like, from what I've heard.
We're talking about a life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
it's not just a life. It's your kid's life. So it's
right. Like,
it's not just like any other situation where it's like you're trying to benefit someone that has nothing to do with anything. Like, this is your child. So to me, it was like, I feel like she probably felt disgruntled by that. And I love DT. I love DT. The UConn versus Sue Bird days. I mean, they go deep. But DT also says things in a Jimmy Butler type fashion, if that makes sense. Kobe Bryant type fashion. So I feel like, the clown statement by Skylar, we really don't know the conversations that were being had throughout the team. Maybe Skylar heard some things about DT talking about her, or somebody was talking about her.
Or no, it was towards Nygaard, because she's the way she captioned it, she was like, imagine saying something. It was towards Nygaard.
Right.
So but there was some beef between her and DT too, because we saw them literally at the end of the game yelling screaming at each other on the sidelines, So, and to me at that time, I just took it as, because they're both fierce competitors, and so and
you can look at it either way.
Yeah, like Skylar's your guard, but also DT's your franchise player. So whose team is it really? Like, we know it's DT's team, but Skylar's one of those that, I mean, you can't bully her around.
That's my question, though, is like, you really look at it, and they are not the same whatsoever. But I said this years ago. I was like 12. But, when Jimmy Butler's coming up and he's really starting to become who he is, and you look at Derrick Rose, and at the time, he's not retiring at any standpoint. Like 10 years plus later, he's still hooping. But you understood his time with Chicago is running low. It's still Derrick's team, but Jimmy's right there, and you understand that Jimmy's going to take the reins at some point. And I feel like that's frustration between the two right now. And you kind of mentioned it earlier with Asia and Candace. Like, that's something people might not want to talk about right now, but definitely could become a problem, is Candace coming in with that energy potentially, and Asia being like you said earlier, who the fuck are you? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah. Like,
I think it'll go either way, but getting back to,
well, I think I have the answer on the Vegas one thing real quick. And, I'm always going to circle it back to the Spurs, always and forever.
Always and forever.
Becky is she's the product of Pop. And so ultimately, when you talk about whose team is it, when you talk about the Spurs, whose team is it? It's Pop's team. It ain't the individual player's team. That's Pop's team. And I feel like Becky probably the same way. When you think about
that, and that's why I fear that woman, Megan. That's why I fear that woman.
That's Becky's team. And while I did say it's Asia's team, I think Becky has that relationship with Asia that, it's Asia's team, but she has the understanding that ultimately that's Becky's team.
Right. And I think that was what I was telling you. Like, that's the part, like, Becky walks in a room and there's that leadership that comes with her. Like, we're all sitting in this room,
for sure,
and everybody's got their mics. She sat down, she stared at all of us, and I felt like I was the one getting interviewed. I felt like I was in a police room right now getting investigated on. I felt like I did something wrong. Like, she brings that kind of intensity to her where you're just going to check the ego at the door. So I really do believe in Becky Hammon. And I think if there is anybody who's able to do that, I think it's Becky Hammon. Like, a Kurt Miller with this would fumble the bag incredibly horrible, awfully.
And I don't think people understand why I don't like Kurt Miller the most, because he made a comment about Liz Cambage, and even though Liz is a head case, the comment was so derogatory. He called her a 300-pound Amazon, and was talking about how she fouls and stuff like that. And how can you be such a big proponent for women's sports and then you say something derogatory about an athlete? Like, that's bullshit.
Right. I think there's a lot of things I just don't like about Kurt. Me and Kurt had beef during the semifinals. Like, I don't know. I'd ask Kurt a question and he'd give me some smart ass answer, and I was like, bet every time I see you from now on, I'm gonna ask you the most bogus questions. And he hated me. But
that's funny.
I like Kurt. He's just a different kind of guy. You either like him or you don't. But I think he's a good coach, but sometimes I just don't like the ego of it. I believe Kurt has a huge ego, so that's just.
Oh yeah, no, that's a big part of it too.
Yeah,
I agree. I really thought she was going to LA CP3. I really did. Like, I thought they were going to re-sign the Agumake sisters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Chindi was going to stay or not, but I
can be now as well. So.
Right, which if she can play this season, then she has an immediate impact. So that is a big pickup for them because she's a baller. Right. But also there on the Aces side of things, Candace is a little bit taller, and that kind of addresses their issues with big lineups.
Right. They did have that problem. That was the one thing I will say. Playing against them, I believe, like, we played them in the Commissioner's Cup, and then we played them 2 times or 3 times in the regular season. And that was, I understood. We all understood. I feel like if you watched the WNBA and you really cared and you understood probably from the beginning of the season, the Aces are going to go to the finals. Like, we all understood.
Right. Oh, no, we knew. Yeah, we knew. Yeah.
immediately. And it wasn't just because of Becky. Like, everything was just coming into fruition.
Oh man,
for
they were
what it was.
so good for the last. I mean, because they haven't been around forever, very long anyway.
Right.
But like, I think their first year they weren't good, and then the next year they were in the finals playing this playing.
Right. I mean, they were a completely different team when Kelsey got drafted. I mean, that's what it was.
Right.
So they weren't even in Las Vegas. So
it was they were playing Seattle. It was the last time that Seattle won their championship. The Aces were there.
Right.
So like they've been good for about 5 years, and then you want to throw Becky in the mix. Like, oh man, y'all was already deep. Now you got one of the greatest coaches.
100%. Asia just took that next step. Obviously, she's still doing all the things with, Stanford and everything she did over there. And it's going to be interesting. South Carolina. I don't know why I said Stanford, but, everything she did over there, is just so interesting to me to see her take that next step. And I think Becky was such a huge part of that. But, when I really looked at the Sky, we gave them problems. And I think,
for sure.
Yeah, and I think that was because you look at Emma Meeseman, you look at Candace Parker, you look at Azurá Stevens, and we were just big. The problem was, and I mean this like with all respect, because I love her, but the problem was Allie, and the problem was the bench unit really kind of getting together.
Right.
And it wasn't so much Allie from like Allie's not hitting shots. It was okay. So Allie has 10 points. And then Kelsey has 20. And that was really what it was just like, Allie couldn't match Kelsey hitting
that
her
matchup.
pound. Yeah. Right. And it's not really Allie's fault because she's at this stage of her career. So
no. Father Time is undefeated,
Yeah.
Except for Tom Brady, but I think we started to see that this season actually. So
I think we saw it.
But, finally at 46 years old, we started to
saw
see
Christian McCaffrey at quarterback today. So that was a beautiful sight. I loved it.
Congratulations to the Eagles. That's my honey's team. Yeah. I know I'm a Dallas fan.
Oh man. Megan's got a crazy household there in September through January. It's pretty messed up. But
because he's a Mercury fan. I'm a Wings fan. Like we always have running bets going on. I do want to touch on 2 more teams. Obviously, I want to talk about my team a little bit. So and they go hand in hand. So we ended up trading Alicia Gray to the Atlanta Dream, and those are the 2 teams I want to talk about. Even though we lost Kayla Thornton to the Liberty, and we picked up Natasha Howard in that trade. So picking up Natasha Howard, who is a 3-time champion, I feel like is huge. We do need some veteran leadership because there's moments like even when Lana was on the show, she talked about she wanted to see Enrique take that next step towards leadership. And I completely agree. And so this is that person that I think can teach her how to do that, you know, like, because obviously we have coaching issues. We're on our 5th coach in 6 seasons. So, and I don't know if I can even say that because we're live, but I have concerns. I'll just put it that way with the coaching staff. So now I think we're going to re-sign Tierra. I think we're going to re-sign Isabel Harrison. Izzy is great whenever we see that Tierra's kind of struggling. She's not fast, you know, she's a big chick. She just doesn't have that speed. But Izzy is so fast. She's just not as tall. But so, you know, when we run our small lineups, we're going to run with Izzy and she's going to get that tempo up. I hate to see Lish go. That's my favorite player in the league. So, you know, I was thinking like, what were we going to get? Because we heard already that she was going to go and we didn't know who we were going to get in return. And so we didn't realize that we were going to get Natasha Howard. And so I was like, there's nobody on that squad on ATL that I want except for Ryan Howard in exchange for Lish. And I knew that they're not going to give up their franchise player, Ryan Howard. You know what I mean? But then I got to thinking about it and I was like, man, they got Naz Hillman too over there, right? And so like if you go and look at their size, like Ryan's 6'2", Lish is 6 foot, Naz is 6'2" also. Like they got some size over there on the inside. And even like coming down with the ball, even in the backcourt, they have some size. So I think Atlanta is going to be a playoff team. I think that we could see them in the second round of the playoffs, to be honest. And it depends on coaching in Dallas, in my opinion, because I think we have like a good answer to size in Tierra, because we started to see in the last part of the season her gelling with the team. Izzy had some issues with VJ. And so, which was our coach last year. And so maybe her being gone, we'll see Izzy on the court a little bit more.
Right.
Losing Kayla Thornton to the Liberty, that's gonna hurt.
Right.
But I think Natasha will make up for that.
Natasha's solid. I mean, the defense that she's going to bring and the leadership that she's going to bring to the team is amazing right now. And I think that's one of the biggest things. You look at the wings and they really lacked, especially no pun intended, but from the wing standpoint, they really needed somebody up there to just get in people's faces. And that is what Natasha does a lot. I love Natasha as a person. I've spoken with her a lot, but I always tell her, I'm like, bro, like, you piss me off watching you play, because she gets in your face. She gets in your face and she lets it know, and like she will not back down to a challenge. She's right on CP, she's right on Ka, she's hanging with the bigs. I mean, she could do whatever you ask her to do. But the big one, I feel like we didn't even touch on. We got one more, and then I gotta let Megan go. She's a very busy person. Before we even talk about the Stewie situation, Jonquel Jones, the 2021 MVP, is headed to the Liberty as well. Right now, if it's all said and done, let's say Stewie's out on New York and she stays in Seattle. I mean, are you looking at the New York Liberty, but with Sandy especially, potentially going to the finals?
Hell yes. I think they definitely have a chance. It still feels like they're one piece short, even if it's not a Stewie type of player. Right. Like, it still feels like they're maybe one piece short of really making it to the finals and making a go at it. But they're very close. And maybe that person is already on their team. They played most of last season without Bet-Nija Laney. And the season before that, we know Laney balled out. So Laney was injured last season, and then she got married at the end of the season. So I think we see her, if she can turn a corner and step into that. Okay, so without Stu, just currently, if she can step into that third option, and we see her take that step, then I think that, New York could be a real serious problem. Sabrina's the future of the league. I think you can tag that on her and feel solid about it, But then also they got Dee Richards from Baylor, and she's a hooper. I mean, talk about making threes. That's one right there.
The big one for me is Han as well. I mean, I look at what she's been able to do, and how big she really is. Like, if she can really I feel like, and I kind of compared her to Giannis into that conversation.
She got to learn how to throw her weight around.
Right. If she just got a little bit bigger, I feel like she's going to be one of the best bigs in the league. And I think that's really the conversation.
Big Steph is over there too.
Don't talk about Steph. I'm still hurt about it. But I'm kidding. But Master Chief is over there. Master Chief is over there. That's her handle on Instagram. I love it. But it's something for me and really getting into that. And I had it written down. Obviously, you have Han there. That's huge for size. Stephanie Dolson, who and I've told her this, she's I'm sure she's not offended by it, but she's the Steven Adams of this team, I believe. She's not the biggest center, but she's everywhere she needs to be, and she's physical and she can do what she needs to do. So I love having her there. And the big conversation, and Megan, this is exactly why I wanted to talk to you today. That's another ploy to bring in a Courtney Vandersloot. Sloot right now has kind of had, it's not official. I haven't heard Sloot say it, but Sloot's camp and everybody around Sloot is saying, wherever Breanna Stewart goes, I'm going to try to make it work. And that's really the understanding right now. So if I look at it and I put it on paper, and this isn't exactly how it would look. I mean, you got potentially Sloot at the 1. You got Sabrina at the 2. You either switch out, obviously, Jonquel Jones or Stewie at the 3 and the 4. And then you got Stephanie Dolson at the 5. I mean, you look at that versus Vegas and what Vegas just did. And I think that is the greatest finals matchup that the WNBA has ever had.
Yeah, no, for sure. The only problem with the Stewie and Court going over there is they're probably going to have to let Bet-Nija go. She's going to have to she's that piece that holds the weight, she's your marketable value right there. And
I think that's the conversation for the Chicago Sky is, we sign and trade Sloot, and then obviously we trade her, and then you can
get Bet-Nija.
Right.
Yeah, if you get Bet-Nija over there, man, now y'all are a couple pieces away just because of what you've lost. Right. And losing Courtney will hurt, but we saw that she took a step back last season anyway. Right. And I didn't know if it was necessarily age or just that you guys were so good, the team didn't demand her to be like, she didn't need to lead and assist
She was a
because
Chris Paul type player. You know what I mean? Like that's really what it was. And she wasn't really used to that. She's used to knocking them down. She reminds me so much of like a Kyrie or Steph Curry, where she's out here just balling. And she was in this weird situation. You know, we kind of talked about it earlier, like a KD situation. You add KD to the mix, and Curry's kind of like, well, fuck it. I guess I'll just pass it. You know what I mean? So it really was interesting. But, you know, we break that down. Final topic of the day. In all seriousness, like whether Sloop pairs up with Stewie or not, that's yet to be seen. We'll figure it out what happens with Allie. I'm sure that's going to have a key factor into it, but I'm sure if Allie's retiring, she'll have no problem following Sloop wherever she goes. But Stewie has officially as of today, because Megan Price is so smart and told me we should do this tomorrow. You know, I was going to sit here and talk about the Minnesota Lynx and the Washington Mystics and all this crap that didn't matter, because Stewie came out today and said it is between Seattle or it is between obviously the New York Liberty. So for you right now, what is the big key factor if you're Breanna Stewart? Like, what do you want to do? Do you want, because I remember there was once a time she said, I want to be like Sue. I want to stay my whole career in one place. And now you're talking about potentially going to your hometown. You got Lady Mamba and Sabrina, Sandy. I mean, Sandy's probably one of my favorite coaches in the league just because.
I really respect Sandy a lot. I think obviously, I mean, and this is probably, I mean, just a glaringly obvious comment, but Mercury moved on way too soon from Sandy. I know they questioned those championships because she took over a team that was already built. So, but clearly they moved on way too soon because, well, I think that, you know, what happened in the coaching situation with the Mercury is I think that they thought they were going to get Teresa Weatherspoon. And Teaspoon decided to stay with the Pelicans. And you know, stay within the NBA. So for Stewie, I think the thing that changed things for her is she's a mom now. And so, you know, while Seattle is a family vibe, like New York really is her home, you know, like, so I think being around family could be something really important to her. And I think that's probably going to play a factor. And then also Sandy, I think, is a huge factor too, because I don't trust Noelle over there in Seattle. She gets out coached all the time. Like, I mean, they did make it to the second round of the playoffs, but I mean, it being Sue's last season, you got Tina Charles mid-season. Like, why weren't y'all in the finals?
Right, and that's one of the biggest.
To me, that's coaching. That's coaching. You know.
Right. It was one of the most disappointing farewell tours, I felt like, especially for someone of the caliber of Sue Bird. I mean, imagine if that was DT's farewell tour as well. Like, that was they are being horribly coached. I think Seattle's coaching is a youth thing. I think, you know, she's not the oldest person in the room. I think she has still a lot more work to do. I'm not saying she's a bad coach, but, you know, she's definitely not where the Mercury are at right now.
She was an assistant of the same team whenever they won their last championship. So in the Wubble. So, you know, it's not that she doesn't like, I think you said it right. It's not that she's just so the wrong coach or a bad coach. She just has some development to do. She's got to get more assertive. Like us as media should not be more assertive as you, the coach, and Steve Nash.
And I look at that though. I'm like, okay, so I just looked it up too. I wanted to make sure I was right. 38 years old. You know, for me, a 22-year-old, I'm like, oh, she's old as hell. You know what I mean? But in the long scheme of things, I mean,
well, damn, I'm turning 38 in May. Watch your mouth.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying though? That's why it's really not old though. Like you look at the players in the league, look at DT, look at Allie Quigley, look at all these other players who are similar in ages, and you're looking at you like, yo, like we have a better game plan than you. And that's really what it is and what it comes down to. So I think she's just going to continue to develop and grow. But this is the one part I do want to hit with you, because I do think it does matter to some extent. If the obviously Stewie and Courtney Vandersloot rumors are true, you know, Sloot being born and raised in Seattle is such a key factor to that. And with Sue Bird,
that's a factor too.
Sue Bird being gone and them being able to, you know, we talk about Candace taking a pay cut. You know, obviously it was already taking a pay cut to begin with. Sloot's money was messed up with the Sky. You know, there was a whole situation with that. A lot of people's money was messed up last year. Let's be completely real. And that was to run the team back, but that's not to say everybody wanted their money messed up. You know, some people were willing and other people were like, well, fuck it, my hand is tied. So, you know, Sloot not only being able to go home, but to play with Brianna, who's going to be getting paid max money if she stays. Do you think that's a little bit more compelling than going to New York and playing with Jonquel and Sabrina?
Well, I think we're leaving out a key piece there, and that's Jewel Lloyd. Because, you know, we talk about Sabrina being, you know, like the Mamba, but we literally call Jewel Gold Mamba, you know? So, like, she was deadly in the playoffs. Like, she got hot several times and had a couple of 30-plus games. And her accuracy is just ridiculous. So I think she's a huge part of that team. Obviously, she's their core player. Gabby Williams is an important piece of that team, too. You talk about a very physical player. And she was injured some last season, and I think that played a part in the playoffs as well because Gabby will get in your face. Gabby will make you nervous. She will make you uncomfortable. That's what she's good at. And then she'll turn around and hit a three.
Right.
So I think that Seattle has just as much a case as New York on the court, but you're coaching. That's a huge difference.
No, 100%. But Megan, I appreciate you as always coming on really quickly.
Of course.
I want you hitting everything. I want every show, every second of Megan's World, Mondays through Sundays. I want to talk about it. Where can everybody find you?
Oh gosh. Okay. Monday through Wednesday, 9 to 11 Central AM. You can catch me on 806 Sports. If you're local, it's 1440 AM. Then Tuesdays is either 3 Chicks in a Pod or Chicks and Salsa. It's a variation of the four of us. And then Wednesdays is Sports Arena. Thursdays is the Sip Off. And then I don't know exactly what day I'm going to do, but WNBA Carousel's coming too.
We are coming back. And Megan and I are definitely doing a WNBA show this year, and we're going to have our very own segments every week of Patrick Beverley, and I'm super excited about it. We're going to keep up to date. I'm a fan now. The jersey's coming. I just ordered it last night. It took me, 12 plus years to become a Patrick Beverley fan, but last night I did. Megan, again, we appreciate you for coming on. We will keep you guys up to date on everything WNBA. You can follow Megan at Megan Price on Facebook or any other social media platform. I am Mike Hughes. You're listening to the ASAP Network. Peace.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.